Good evening, lovelies. You are now tuned into my podcast, Difficult People Chronicles, Seriously Focused Johnnie, SF Johnnie. Today's episode, The Message, The Act of Silence. So, earlier in the year, silence came up. God gave me the direction of silence. It was when I was going through spiritual warfare and I was getting attacked. During that time, I was battling with a lot of things where I I had to start, at that point, I had to start working on my anger. I wanted to walk up to the person and punch them in their face. And not just one person, like a few people. You have that person doing the dirt. You have that other person being the monitoring spirit. You have those other people being minions. And I just wanted to go off on all of them because I felt like my life would be easier that way. What stopped me was me thinking that if I disobey what God said to me, which is be silent, that my situation would be worse than what it was at the time. So I just kept my mouth shut. That was the hardest thing to do because a lot of times we talk too much. Well, we talk at the wrong time. We feel the need to prove ourselves. And we don't realize that we are actually hurting ourselves. Silence can be a good thing because you are not telling your business. You're not telling what's going on. You're not letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing. You walking in silence. So yesterday, silence came up again. And I wasn't too sure if I was going to talk about this episode, but silence came up. And what came to me was that somebody's talking too much. Somebody is talking too much trying to prove themselves. And I understand, I get it. When you a real person with a heart and people are blaming you for stuff, putting you on the chopping block, you always feel the need that you want to fight your battles yourself. But when you fight your battles yourself and God tells you to be silent, it's basically like saying to God, you don't need him. And in actuality, you do. Because you don't know how deep, I would say, that situation is. You don't know how deep that situation is. There's always some things that we all don't know about when it comes to certain situations. You have the beginning where it's just rough and you just fighting every other day. And then you have the end, which is victory. And you can't see through the fog. God can see through the fog. So that's some of the reasons why you need to keep your mouth shut. Let's talk about some other reasons. When you talk too much, you could be killing yourself softly. And when I say killing yourself, I'm talking about you decide to tell something like you in a good position and then you talk so much that you end up just going down the landslide in the mud. You just slipping further and further and further. Why? Because you didn't keep your mouth shut. Another reason is that you're interfering with the process. Whatever process that God has going on, because a lot of times, and this is the way I see it, a lot of times we in the middle, like I said, we in the middle of a battle and then there's the fog. You never see what's going on. You don't even know if God is working. So you sitting up there doubting, you just like, you praying, but you don't see nothing happening. You ready to throw in the towel and everything else. And then on the other side of the fog is clear roads ahead. But you can't see that. So you decide to go and build this and build that and do all this other stuff extra. You end up creating a blockage instead of waiting for God to clear the fog so you could get to the end. You do all that work. You get sick doing all that work instead of just keeping your mouth shut and waiting for God to clear the fog so you could get to the end. And that fog is faith. So basically what it is you interfered with the process and you didn't have no faith about the end. Another reason, which goes back to the one I just said, is you get ahead of yourself. And getting ahead of yourself deals with control. You know how many people I'm meeting that they tried to control a situation and now they in a worse situation. And now they trying to figure out how to do damage control. Another reason is that some people talk a lot because, like I said, they want to prove themselves and they want a reaction. You ever hear certain people get into an argument and then one person is doing a whole lot of talking and then they turn around and they say, "Did you see what I did to that person?" Or "You see what happened?" Or such and such. They just want a reaction. Like, why? Why? Just keep your mouth shut. Why does it matter? And I'm going to give you a good example. You ever see two people break up and one person didn't heal? One person didn't get over the breakup. And then, let's say years later, they meet up with the ex or whatever, see them in the street, and the ex say something like, "How you doing?" And they just got to give them the whole paragraph. "I'm fine. I'm married. Got kids. Got this. I'm doing." And the only thing the person said is, "How you doing?" That's it. All you had to do was say, "Fine." That's it. And keep walking. Because by you explaining everything going on in your life, your kids, your wife, your whatever, your husband, your kids, your wife, your house, your car, your job, by you explaining all of that, that says you still got feelings for that person. And then when your spouse blasts you, husband or wife, and says, "Why did you say all of that?" You say, "Oh, I ain't thinking about that person." You are. You still bitter. Keep it simple. Me, I don't say nothing at all. Sometimes I just keep walking. I'm busy. Like, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Another reason is when people talk too much and they have a tendency to diagnose a problem wrong, it becomes costly. Especially if that other person that's doing the service is a money person, meaning that they already walk through the door and see you as money, and you saying to them, "Oh, the washing machine is not working because this, and that." And this person walks in and changes all these parts that didn't need to be changed. And you get a bill for $500. When in reality, you probably just got something clogged in the holes in the washing machine and it probably was like $140 or $40. Keep your mouth shut. Let the professionals tell you what the problem is. Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut so they could get to the root of the problem. Because you have some people that talk too much that just not helping the situation at all. And when you are quiet, a person, whoever is doing the talking, you can sit there and identify if what they're saying is facts or lie. And that applies to people who cheat. I found a lot of times in a lot of my past relationships, when I kept my mouth shut, I caught them cheating. It's like everything they said was a lie. Whole story didn't make sense. Put the pieces together and I was like, "Oh, you was cheating." Because 2 o'clock you said you called me at 2 and said you was here, but you was really over there. So which is it? And a lot of times when a person gets caught out there in their lie, they have this face expression that looks sick because they talked themselves in a hole or a landslide. And the last reason is that when you're going through a spiritual warfare, you a lot of times don't know how many people are your enemies. And in due time, God shows you who's who. He shows you how to fight. He gives you the tools. He tells you how to position yourself. And the only way to hear him is through silence. But if you're doing too much talking, you can't hear a word he's saying, and then you end up dying. That's the end of your story. Never reaching victory. You just die. Because you talk too much. I remember two people. I don't even remember their names, but it was a husband and wife. And I used to always say to the wife, I used to be like, "Yo, your husband talk a lot. Like, he talks a lot. Like, even like, I don't know. He didn't know how to keep his mouth shut. He always felt the need to tell. Like, he was the person." And I said to her, I said, "You can't never tell him to keep a secret. Don't ever tell him a secret." He's not going to keep it. He would talk too much. Even when she tells him something and he was like, he'll keep the secret. She begged him to keep the secret. We would hear about it through the grapevine and know he told. And then his whole thing was, what does it matter? He talked too much. And as you get older, it becomes dangerous when you talk too much. When you are in a relationship and it's husband and wife, y'all should be each other's best friends, and y'all should be the ones talking to each other, and you don't have to worry that your spouse is gonna go run their mouth. Because then that means you can't trust them with anything. And then you have to think about, where's the trust? I can't trust you to keep your mouth shut. But that's it. That's all I have for today. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but something might be going down with somebody somewhere, some kind of how, and I want you to sit back and think about the situation at its entirety before you start talking. Just let the person talk. Let the person talk. And then towards the end, just say a little silent prayer and ask God if you should say something. But for right now, whoever it is, just keep your mouth shut. If it's on the job and somebody's telling you something going on in the office, keep your mouth shut. Because nowadays, when you in the office, even if you say boo, they're going to say, you said. And then you sit back and say, how did I get into that drama? All I said was no. Don't say nothing at all. Ooh, excuse yourself. I gotta go get some coffee. As soon as they start talking, what you think? Oh, let me go get some coffee. Oh, I gotta use the restroom. I gotta make a phone call. Don't get involved. Because something is gonna happen where a person is gonna say something and they're gonna talk themselves. Either the person doing the talking is gonna talk themselves in a hole, or a person is going to give out too much information, and then it's going to cause a whole lot of problems, even though the person didn't mean it the way it was interpreted. And it's even in separation. When it comes to relationships and separations, it's just best to keep your mouth shut. You'll find out more that's going on in the cut. Because sometimes people will accuse you of doing something and you didn't do it. What it is they're blaming you. But if you keep your mouth shut, you can hear them talk themselves in a hole and you'll see what really happened. You'll even see the culprits in the situation. Who played what position. Keep your mouth shut. So that's it for today. For a one-on-one session, go to my website, seriouslyfocusjohnnie.com. I'm still giving away freebies. Email me, sfj.peace@gmail.com. Put in the subject box freebie for a chance to win. And for those who don't win, I'm giving away discounted sessions. Check out my store. Check me out on YouTube. Like, subscribe, click the notification. Love me more and I love you more. Have a blessed week and be silent. Later.